Hi everyone, welcome to our Treasure Hunt Monday Night Live. Glad y'all are here. So that's Misha and Jerry, Julie and Jerry and Karma. Hi everybody. Let's see. And there we go. Listen, oh, that's okay. I'm glad you're listening. So let's see here. Hello. There goes my alarm. Hello, TV watchers. Hi, chat. Hi, replay watchers. And there's Rebecca. Hi, Rebecca. Rebecca, you go get some rest. I understand. It's all right. So tonight, I've announcement my scarves. I've got some other pictures of my scarves I need to put up, but the scarves I made and everything that's in my post, and I made the little video things about. They are Black Friday, 20% off until December 10th, because December 10th would be the cut line for getting it out into the mail. Oh, yeah, that sounds good too. That's what I do. I've got somebody on that's live and doing all the things, say hello, and then keep on doing. Most of the time I'm crocheting or just doing other things. And okay, so tonight I have a prayer request. Before I get started, y'all know about my arm. It's like that. Well, all of a sudden, right here, I don't know if y'all can see it. Right there's a little dot. Well, that was a bruise that came up. I saw that. Was yesterday I saw it? Yeah, yesterday I saw it. I wasn't paying attention, and then under my arm, the same thing's right through here. So, my son took pictures, and I just sent them to my heart doctor. He goes, that's the side that you has your pacemaker on. He goes, the pacemaker could be feeling. I said, it just sent them stuff to the doctor, and they looked at it and said it was okay. Because that don't mean anything. Like, oh my goodness, they got you thinking and everything. I don't know. I just know I woke up this morning and I was telling him, my left arm was sore. Like I've been lifting up stuff. I don't lift anything heavy. Only thing I've been doing is doing these and everything, but that one have caused bruises or anything. And I sleep on my right side because I can't sleep on my left side because of my left hip. So I don't know where it's from. I did have crazy dreams last night. You know, was I fighting? I was like lifting stuff and like helping some. I was really weird. Just helping this person move stuff from one place to another. Have you ever had a dream and you woke up with a bruise? I have many, many times. That'd be Saturday night's Bible study. But yeah, it's just really weird, and I'm just like, I don't. Only other thing I can remember that I picked up and was carrying was just my jug of water I had underneath my arm, but that one of I don't think that would have done that. I don't know. So yes, we'll pray for you, Rebecca, and everything. She's had a long day, and also, yeah, just pray that this isn't nothing to do with the pacemaker. And not at the holidays, No. So, alrighty. So tonight, I will sit there and finish talking about when I was a PI. What I've learned as let me get to my. Oh yeah, almost didn't save that yet. Okay, so yeah, so what I learned as a PI, and we talked about things that you thought, privacy and everything. Like I talked about, if you had a speeding ticket, if you have a civil case, if it was a credit card thing and they took you to court or whatever it was, um, it's that's all public knowledge. Um, hey, Drop, how you doing? Julie here. Jerry might watching if you are. That's fine. Hi, Julie. So back in the day when there was newspapers, when they put the obituary in the paper, they used to put the address of the person who died. And that was because of family being far away or, okay, we're not talking about trading here. Um, so, back then they would put the address in the paper and everything. So they they stopped doing it because criminals will look at the paper and everything and do all kinds of things. So, but even now in the obituaries, you give the first person's full name, how old they are, you know, the city and state they're in, relatives and everything. So it still gives out information that it's innocent to everybody else. And then, you know, all of a sudden, there's information out there. And most people don't think of it and, just don't stop doing it. But obituary is to let friends and family and other people that let know someone had passed away. But as far as the criminal mind goes, they use that information now. Everything's online now. So even just having somebody's name, now that's sometimes all I needed was somebody's name about approximately how old they are and everything, and I could find things out. Now, like if you just Google your name, don't even put your middle initial there. Just Google your name, and you'll have 50 to 100 people come up with the same name, and it's like, how does that happen? Because we're growing up, so and so family was so and so family, and this Joe Smith over here, they didn't have no relatives or anybody else that they knew that had the same name. And well, yeah, that used to be that if you could go to the DMV and say I was in a car accident, give the license plate number, and they stopped that back in the late 80s because people were doing that for other reasons and everything. Nowadays, it's a little bit harder to take somebody, go to like DMV or BMV, whatever it's called in your state, and ask for that information. You did skip tracing for attorneys from going to college. That's like serving papers. I had one time this lady, she needed to be served papers for divorce, but custody and everything, and she kept dodging the people. Every investigator they had on there, she kept dodging them and everything. I said, give me the address, give me the papers. And then now, when you go to serve papers, you don't have to be a PI. It's just, if you work for an attorney, whatever, they have someone to go serve papers. Yep. And so we were sitting there, we had her address, and I wait for her to come home. She comes out. I walked up to her. I said, Mrs. So-and-so. She goes, I don't know who you are. I said, this is your address, and just said her name and everything. And, of course, she started getting rude and everything. And I said, well, I have papers for you. And she goes, I ain't taking no papers. I said, but I can just hand them to you. And if it falls on the floor, you've still been served. And that's all I've got to say. And that's exactly what happened. She didn't want to take the papers. I put them right there on her, unless she had a book or something other. And I put it on her book. I said, "You've been served." And she dropped the paper. I'm like, "Now that's up to you whether you go to court or not. But you already know what this issue is." And I walked away because I did my job. And everybody always asks Nancy, "How do you get that done?" I'm like, "It's just simple stuff." Yeah, sometimes, yeah, refusal to accept is, that's changed over the years too. So, yeah. And if you have, there's things that you can do as far as like if you're in a situation or a civil case or whatever, you can file papers yourself. But this is like more like, things I did as an investigator to find information about people. Um, so say like Mary Jo Smith passed away and it lists her relatives. Now, if the case I had and they knew the person, a relative had passed away and everything, you can go look it up in the obituaries. You could go to the funeral home, um, and that's a longer process because the funeral home actually has privacy clauses in there. They really can't give out any information as far as addresses or anything. Um, they can maybe give you a little bit of something, but normally in funeral homes, they're pretty good about privacy and everything. And then, like I said, back in the day when it was like the mail, if you had a P.O. box or something, there was a form that you could fill out. And then you would take it to the P.O. box and they would give you the address that the P.O. box was registered to. Now that was back in 2004. By 2005, they had stopped doing that. And so I don't know in some states if they still do that or not. But if somebody wants to find you, they'll find you one way or the other. And to me, I say bring it on. I've got ways to protect myself. Um, besides my son, who's 6'4" and broad shoulders and built, but there's ways to protect yourself also. Um, Especially now that a lot of things is digital and everything, you can always keep a track of your bank account. The most thing is if you see like 1 cent or $1 and you have not done those things, call your bank. Get online with them, call your bank, tell them, hey, this was not me. Can we put a stop on that, put a hold on it and everything? Because, some people don't realize or don't check it every day and everything. So, you know, always be careful about those things. It's like a few weeks ago, I got it was an email or a text or something. Oh, I got a call from it was a scammer. So the first one I answered, and I didn't say hello. I just said, "Who is this?" Because they want you to say hello because they're recording you. I said, "Who is this?" And they wouldn't say anything. I said, "I know you there. Who is this?" Or this is member services. Member services for what? And they wouldn't say for what it was. I'm like, and then she said my name and everything. I was like, "You've got the wrong number. I don't know nobody by that name." And she was trying to get information out of me to verify that she was talking to Nancy, whoever. And I was like, I don't know who that person is. You got the wrong number. Take my number off your list. So it was like less than 5 minutes. I get another phone call. This time I didn't answer it. And so it went to voicemail. And it was a female voice. And she was Asian. No, it was automatic. So it was Walmart. And they had my email and not my card, just my email and my phone number. And verifying the purchase of earbuds that were $919. And so immediately we knew that was red flags and everything. So my son, he said, that's not Walmart's customer service number, and that's not Walmart's person either. So we listened to it again, and I got the number and everything, wrote that number down, wrote the number that called me. Then we got on to my bank account, and there was a number listed on my bank account that was none of our numbers, none of my second. This phone is like a kind of like a throwaway phone. It wasn't that number or nothing. And so immediately I took that phone number off and changed passwords, and then I put alerts on for everything. So it's always good to check your bank account at least once or twice a month. So, you know, always be on an alert about things that are going on. Now that's like Credit Karma and Credit Sesame. You can check your credit and everything. So I have alerts on that too, because someone opened a Fingerhut account in my name, and so I had to go in and close all that out, and that was like 5 years ago. But some people are just like, if they have and that's just weird, because actually, and it's sad that our mobile services, and even before mobile services, we had landlines and everything. They would sell the phone numbers, and that's how advertisers and other companies that wanted to sell you things got your phone number. Now it's just a Google search, and people can find things. If they know an old address and everything, they can start from there. Now, back in 2003 and 4, I worked for a company. Back then, you really had to pay for those services, and they weren't cheap either. But you put somebody's name in, the last known address, and they would come up. It would come up with a lot of stuff. Now it's got like Spokey and Tellus and everything, and a lot of those really don't have up-to-date information, and you can tell by what your information is out there. Yes, you can sit there and tell them to take it off and everything, and sometimes it's just more of a hassle for you to call and get someone to take that stuff off than it is just to leave it there. So from my personal experience, back in from 98 till 2000. All right, so from 1998 up to like the mid 2000s, somewhere like 2010 or so. Every once in a while, when I filed taxes, I would have to prove I had my sons lived with me, and I always thought it was my ex-husband and ex-mother-in-law trying to file them on their taxes and everything. Well, in 2020, 2021, I get letters from the state IRS and federal that, someone's I'm trying to file taxes and everything. And I'm like, I had a call. I'm like, I've been disabled since 2010. I don't work. And so, we went through the steps and everything, and, they took care of it and did the same thing with the federal. So 2021, 22, 20, 21, 22, and 23. Every year I got a letter. And so this year I was expecting a letter for 2024. IRS sent me a letter. I know they don't call you. Yeah, the FBI, the IRS, the CIA, the U.S. Marshals, the state police, they ain't going to call you. They're just going to show up at your door. And that's just it. They don't email you. They don't call you, nothing. So I was waiting for a letter this year. I never got a letter. So I called to make sure that anybody trying to file taxes in my name. And They said, no. They're like, well, and I explained. They go, well, we see it in the next and everything. She goes, but no, nobody's tried to do it this year. I said, that's interesting. She goes, yeah, it is very interesting. I'm like, yeah. So I think she knew what I was talking about. And so I didn't, and I called the federal on the same thing. So I thought it was interesting. Um, the 4 years that we did not have our current president, that this kept going on. We get a new president and it stops. And it stops. So I'm just like, oh, thank you, Lord. I just thank the Lord because he stopped it and everything. And I'm just like, it stopped. But keep up with your social security number. Keep up with other things. Keep up with your bank account. Keep up with, you know, XYZ, and it can get overbearing and everything at times and everything. But if you have times throughout the month, just to pick a, like, beginning of the month, the middle of the month, end of the month, have those alerts on your phone and everything. Um, I was going to say something. Talking about so Social Security, was it back in the summer? That summer, last summer, I think it was. Anyway, I get information about I got to fill out these forms again, and I'm like, I'm not working. Where in the world did they get this idea that I'm going out to a job? So I called and she said, well, we just got to fill out the paperwork and send it in. So I went up to our local one, and she goes, oh, I said, I got this. Why did I get this? And it says I work at blah, 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 and everything. And she goes, I said, I don't work. I said, I physically can't be, especially doing a survey job. I said, that's standing and walking outside all day long. I said, I got arthritis in both hips. I can barely sit and stand up and everything. She goes, just fill those out and everything. This happens all the time. I looked at her. I'm like, what do you mean all the time? She goes, oh yeah, this just happens all the time. Like people stealing people's identity and doing fake things with their names and stuff. Just fill out the paperwork, we'll just take it off of it. I was just like, one, I didn't go to school for engineering and surveying. I went to school for criminal justice and CSI. I got so big. She was like, oh, yeah, so you know your stuff. And I was like, and everybody in the room got quiet when I said that because there was like 20 people or so at least. And they got quiet. And when I sit there and said that, because I was so mad. And it was like, come they start whispering because I heard it and everything. And then it's, well, we can't do nothing about it. You just have to fill it out. So after like 6 months or so, they finally took it off and everything. But I'm just like, oh my goodness, you know, use those websites, the IRS website, the Social Security. Check on your stuff all the time because scammers somehow or another they know how to work the system and get your information, and not necessarily calling you on the phone and getting you to say hello, or they'll call you and say, is this Mary Smith and is your last four of your social, blah, 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 blah. And some people don't think twice, or they act like they're your insurance company. I've had that also. I get online, I can talk to them and chat, and ask that they make a phone call. Give them the number that they called me, and they nope, that's not us. Don't answer the phone. Did you text me? Da 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 da. The same way with with your bank, with your credit cards, personal loans that you have, or whatever. Sometimes the information just gets out there, not on purpose, but it does get out there. Now, when I was doing investigation work, there's still some things that are private information. You can't just go to somebody's bank and ask them for information. They're gonna walk you out the door or have security, take you out there. It's like in hospitals now. Way back then has the HIPAA law now. So, but it used to be you could go to the hospital, go up to patient, go into information, ask for, say, my friend Mary Smith is here. Do we have any information about how she's doing and anything? They used to, a long time ago until the mid-90s, and they came out with the HIPAA law. Probably one of the best things that happened because people was getting medical information. Now, if you know the person's in the hospital and you know what room they're in or about what's going on, sometimes they will still transfer you to their room number and everything. But, sometimes some hospitals, you just got to go through hoops to get to, what's going on. Now, when I was talking about obituaries, I was looking at one the other day, just because I just happened to see one, and they talk about the person's job, what they did for a living, their hobbies, and everything. And like I said, it's all innocent and everything, but if, people look for that. People need to actually read the HIPAA law and understand what it actually says. Exactly. Now, as far as, me personally telling y'all information about mental health and everything, that's up to me. But if I was in a hospital, unless I had told somebody what room I'm in or whatever, nobody could just go in there and say, I want to see Nancy and give the last name. And they would sit there and say, well, you would have to contact their family, blah, blah, blah. Now, also, if you go to the hospital and you don't want nobody to know you're there or ask for you or anything, you can tell that also. You can leave strict instructions and everything, and some people do, some people don't. Like I said, going back to the obituary, and it's like I said, it's all innocent anyway, because just letting people, friends, family, their co-workers know that this person passed away. But, also think on the flip side of what kind of information are you giving out. Now, when it comes to, like I said, court papers and everything, if you had a speeding ticket, civil, I wanted to go over real estate this week. So, real estate, you own real estate. People know Mary Joan Jackson, and they know she owns property. Now, some places have on there, you could just put the address in. Some have just a name, but then some is this partial name, address, and it was something else, or some kind of ID number. So, real estate assessment office. It's public information because it's public land. But even though it's a private property, it's still public land. I know that sounds funny and weird, but just think of if you're going to go buy like 10 acres somewhere, and it was public, it's public land. It's going to have to be registered somehow or another to show that there was a transaction made between A and B for this land to purchase that sold to C and D, and C and D purchased this land from A and B, It is a transaction, and that's why that is public knowledge. And like I said, back in the day, it was put in the paper because when my sister and her husband bought their first home, that was like, oh, we'll be in the paper 3 weeks later. So we were looking for it, But my mom would sit there and look through that. Oh, so and so bought this and this, and she would just read it out loud. I'm like, why is that so interesting? Well, I just want to see what they bought. And I'm like, you have a nice home. We did go look for another home at one time, but they built on instead. And I'm just like, well, what difference does it make? Somebody bought a home. But she thought it was just interesting to sit there and read through the paper. Now it's online. Most newspapers are online and everything. Um, if you know an address, you can just put the address in. Google Maps comes up with them, Google Maps. If you've ever seen the Google car going right around, that's updating their information with Google Maps. We have friends, big YouTubers, and their haters posted their address online so stalkers can harass them. Yeah, that's something that can happen. Now, I'm glad you brought that up, because now we're going to talk about the definition of a stalker. All right, so not to say that some people use that term loosely, but there are people who do. A stalker. This is what a stalker actually is. An unlicensed PI. And that's just it. The licensed PI has legal right to follow you from your home to your work to the store to see what you're doing, especially in divorce cases, because they're trying to catch infidelity or make sure the child's not being hurt in any way or anything. The best way to meet the judge here in my place, if you know what I mean. So, a stalker. Okay, so say like someone is mad at you or jealous, whatever they've got in their head, they want to do just watch you. Okay, so pay attention to the cars outside. Know what cars are going in your neighborhood, what cars go out of your neighborhood. Sometimes that's just sitting, like I did with situational awareness. Sometimes it's just sitting outside and just watching. Um, Maybe an hour a day, not every single same time, every hour, whenever you can, but take notice. What's this car? Is there anybody in this car? Get a license plate if you can. Then, if you notice the car is there more than one day, longer than a few hours, sitting there overnight, there when you get up in the morning, then it's like, okay, there's a little red flags. Something's going on. Talk to the neighbors. Ask the neighbors, do you know who this car belongs to? Have you seen the person that belongs to this car? It could be that they're going through something and it could be a PI. But if not, on the other hand, the person's watching you and everything. When you leave, do they leave when you leave? Do they follow you to the store? Do they follow you to all right, so if they follow you to Starbucks, did they get out and go in when you were in Starbucks? Then you go to the grocery store, sit in the parking lot for a few minutes, watch where they park, see if they get out. If they don't get out, when you get out, pay attention to what's going on. When you go into the store, go up to customer service. Tell them you think you're being followed, or this car is, give them the whole spill. They will have loss prevention or whatever they call now up there. And then maybe, let you walk around the store and everything, and then watch to see if this person follows you. If they do, then yeah, definitely got a stalker, because, or it could be a PI again, just always be aware of surroundings and everything. The PIs are supposed to be discreet in their doings and everything. Some of them are not, because they haven't been trained properly. like I said, stalker. They'll follow you. Someone will follow your car right up on the bumper. Um, Now, sometimes that's just road rage. I've had that happen too. Coming home from ENT class one night, the guy, he was determined just to run me off the road. No, and I'm just like, so I got on the phone with 911. I'm right there by the police station. I'm telling them where I'm turning and everything. And they go, we got somebody coming. Can you? I'm like, he's trying to run me off the road. You want me to follow him? So I was able to give him the license plate number and everything. Film a little bit, told him where he turned off, and I said, I'm going home. I'm keeping straight. And sure enough, the police got up there to him and everything, and asked him, they called me later and they said, they asked him, he just wanted to do it. Just because he just saw a single female in the car and he wanted to do whatever he wanted to do. I tell him the next time he ever comes up on me like that, I said, I'll have something for him and he won't like what happens. And the officer goes, Nancy, you can't say that. I'm like, yes, I can, because I'm defending myself. I say, he already threatened me, but with his car. So don't sit there and tell me I can't take up for myself. And I said, you better tell him that too. And he goes, oh, well, yeah, you're right, because that could have been a vehicular homicide. I'm like, yeah, exactly. So he told the guy what I said. He called me later. He said, well, he won't be bothering you no more. I said, good. So, there's ways to protect yourself. Part of it is being aware, having those alerts on your phone, watching what's in the newspaper, keeping check on, if you have a house, call your real estate, not real estate office, your local real estate assessment office. Some was called an assessment office, some of it's called treasury and everything, and ask them, what kind of information is public knowledge? What information do you give out? If you just go to the courts yourself one day and just start looking, asking questions, that's one of the best ways to learn about what's going on. Let's see here. Now, when it came to your marriage certificates, death certificates, and all, that's all public knowledge. Because, like I said, death notices are in the paper. That's public knowledge. And it's registered at the courthouse and everything when you get married. All that's public information. Vital statistics, your birth certificates, the last of my knowledge, that's not public information. You have to fill out paperwork and everything, and if you don't know the correct answers to that paperwork, they will not give that information out. So, there's lots of things that you can figure out or call and ask what's public knowledge and what's not public knowledge. Now, so went over with the car. So, the normal is the threes. 3 right turns, 1 left turn. If they follow the 3 right turns, if they follow you, those 3 right turns, the next turns, you're going to take a left turn. And if they follow you on that left turn, usually, by then you're being followed. So, go to a gas station, and if your local police department is right there, you go in there and walk, they should have where you can walk in, like you talk to the officer at the desk and everything. If not, find a local fire station, and then, they'll have that doorbell. Sometimes they have the doors open and everything because it's nice outside, and all you gotta do is tell them, hey, being followed, I need help, this is the car. If you have the license plate, at least get a good description of what's going on and everything. All right, drop. That's enough. So I'm just trying to give people tips and hints about how to keep their personal information safe and everything. So there's other ways, to sit there and see about what's going on with your information, with your social security number, with your address and everything. And like I said, those other things I call LifeLock and all that and everything. To me, that's kind of a waste of money, because you can put your own alerts on your phone from your bank. Um, like I said, through Credit Karma and Credit Sesame, you can put alerts on them from them. The three major credit bureaus, um, they do have free things you can sign up for and free alerts. Now, if you want other stuff from them, of course, you pay a fee every month and everything and all. So, but other than that, that's basically, what I did. As a private investigator, you're certified to follow people, and as a stalker, you're not. You just follow people. So most of the jobs were like divorce cases, um, workers' comp, or disability. And, you know, some people, just don't think, that they're going to look into that. And then, but there are people that they know that, you know, they know you're disabled. Workers' comp, they know if you hurt or not or whatever. Um, Especially if you work in warehouses or, you know, public service. But even if you worked in an office, there's things that can happen working in an office. You trip up and fall, and somebody leaves something on the floor, and you trip over it and everything. So one of my best advice I've ever been given was, if you're going through something, document every single thing. Um, I'm leaving the house at 10:50 to go to the store. I would sit there when I was going through my divorce. I wrote down what time I left and what road when I got to the store, what road I took when I got there. And, I just documented everything. And that kind of way, that's what PIs do. You document. If you're in security, if you worked for an attorney or anything like that you've done, you would document A, B, C, and D and go down the road. Um, you can make up your own code when you write stuff down and everything that nobody else would know what you wrote, but you know what you wrote. And keep a track of things. And it's like, here, I still write down stuff. I've got like 5 or 6 notebooks. I'm always writing stuff down and everything to keep a track of what's going on. Because, making videos and everything. Uh, you know, we used to, write down like when solicitors knocked on the door. Because there were things that was happening sometimes around here we just didn't know. That's like this morning, one of the garage doors was open, 5 o'clock in the morning. Well, we took a note of it and everything. Didn't get a phone call from the office or anything, so we figured that was just maintenance that I got to close the door when they left or something, another like that. Hey, Brandon, how you doing? And everything. So, just sorry about the language. Hold on. Oh, they're playing before the kids. Night. Too much WWE. You ever remember that it's going up and everything, and then afterwards you thought, yeah, come on, we're gonna sit there and do it after. What? We can do that and not get hurt. Yeah, my son and his brother thought that was. I'm like, I'm telling y'all, that's fake. That stuff is fake. You gonna get hurt. Yeah, that's all pre-done just to blow somebody's bubble. WWE is mostly all, um, and I'm not saying pre-recorded, um, acting, mostly acting. Yeah, from 1995 to 1985. Owen Hart died, and then I was kind of like, yeah, those were the good years and everything. Now it's like just another soap opera, nighttime soap opera. That's all it is to me, and everything. So, but yeah, um, PR work is not hard. It's just learning to know what to go look for, and how to find it. Um, as far as like, what is public information, what isn't public information. Um, Harry, as far as privacy goes, I always recommend people to have curtains at their windows, because if you don't and you've got your shades up or whatever, um, now really forgot the technical term for that, but technically that's no privacy. It's not invasion of privacy. Um, oh my goodness, I just had it. The expectancy of privacy. So if you've got your window, no, curtain open, the shade open, and everything, your expectancy of privacy is like kind of at a minimum, because yeah, window peekers, because then people can look through your window, and that's why we've taught Anastasia, and I was teaching her upstairs. You know, come out of the bathroom, whatever you're doing in the bathroom, make sure you get it all done. If the window's open or the curtain's open, even though you're on the second level, it's like when you go, ride, look at lights and everything, and like I was show her, I was like, see, they got their curtain open and everything. Can you see in there? She goes, well, kind of, sort of. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm trying to tell you. I said, there are people in houses that I grew up, and we ride around the neighborhood. They had no windows, shades, no curtains, no nothing. I said, they're just out there, and they're just watching TV and everything else. What was a friend of ours, and so one night I sat there, and they had the TV on and watching the football game and everything. Called him on the phone, and he goes, "Hey," I said, "Hey," I said, and I started telling him everything was on the TV. He goes, "How do you know that?" I'm like, "Because I'm sitting outside." He goes, "Why are you sitting outside?" I said, "We were just riding around and just happened to see what you were doing." I said, "That's why I told you to have curtains or blinds or something at your window, because your expectation of privacy is gone because you have nothing there." And I said, "I could sit here and watch a football game, and I even go home and watch a football game and sit here and watch it on your TV free." A few days later, his wife, they had curtains up. But I was like, that's just the thing. People don't think, all these new homes. If you go to these new homes are built and everything, they don't put. Now they used to not to put, shades and blinds or curtains up and everything. And it's like, are these people that crazy that they don't think people can watch them through the window with the light on? Like, oh my goodness, So, but as a PI, that was your best friend, because if something hanky panky was going on, easy peasy getting on film, because they've got nothing there to keep anybody from looking in. Um, Other things, trying to think. It's been one of those days. Um, your license plates now. Now, and that's being illegal if you know someone at the motor vehicles to get your information. It's pretty much breaking the law now. And now, police officer can run it, but you can't go and ask them to run the plate. They have to have a reason. That's all documented. So technically, no. Only police should be able to run your license plate. My grandma lived in a mansion with huge windows. You see from the road on the other side, like, yeah. If you're on a second floor and just stand out there and see, you can see a lot being on the second floor and everything. And one thing I was teaching in the situational awareness was that be aware. If you can look out and see them, most likely they can look and see you. So always be aware of what's going on. And like I said, I've made a magnet sign. I had a cleaning business. I had a catering business. I put that on. People thought I was around the neighborhood cleaning houses. Um, I had it on. It's on my Instagram, but it was not AT&T. It was 8 Spectrum was out there and everything. And I took a picture, and under the caption, under for the caption is that really who that is? You know, think, sometimes, those PIs or criminals can do the same thing. Make a van, get it all painted up the way they want it, make it look like it's a cable company or um, road workers or whatever, and it's actually undercover people or it's actually a criminal. So you've got to keep, aware of your surroundings. Now, like I said, most of the time, if you're in the middle of like a accident case, a divorce, if you're going through something civil or like a disability, workers' comp, and everything, expect to be being followed by an investigator because they're the ones that they're trying to prove that you're not hurt, or your side is proving that you are, or it's in a divorce, one's proving that you're unfit, and the other one's trying to prove they're unfit, and that could be a messy thing too, especially going through a divorce because if you're following the wife and she knows you're being followed, but she doesn't know just yet or who it is or anything. But if they get a slight inclination that, that it's you or, whoever it is, they're going to get really nasty. So, and then, disability. Some people are just oblivious to what they're doing, and if anybody's watching. Now, I have done it so long, and everything, especially growing up, being aware of things going on. We had, like I said, we've had people knock on our door and run off. We've had people looking through our windows and everything. I talked about that on situational awareness, peeping Tom and everything. And that, I think since I was 6 years old was the time I was like, I want to be a cop and I'm going to catch those bad guys. Those people who, toilet papered my mom's bus or egged the bus, and those that knocked on the door, who did this and who did that. So that, really got me to where I wanted to do that. And then since I never became a police officer, I went into investigations. Um, I don't know how easy it is now to get your PI license. Um, when I got it, you had to take a class and everything, and pass the class, get certified, and get state certificate and everything. You know, um, now I think it's just harder to get a job in that field because there's so many people doing it. Um, like back when I did it, back when I did it, it was still a growing field and everything. There was people retiring and people coming into it. Um, and then another thing to be aware of, there will be people with fake PI badges. You can go online. It's called, I think it's stolebadges.com. Let's see if I can get this comp. Well, let's see. Let's see here. Or you can, Amazon. Amazon, you can look up anything. That's ID holders. That's Amazon. That's Amazon. All right, it's called Badge and Wallet. I Googled it. There you go. Oh, you just put in there what you want to say and order it. It's, it's, and people do that. So, it's basically crossing your T's, dotting your I's to make sure that whoever's approaching you or whatever is who they say you are. Especially in investigations, because sometimes people just want to do it because that's what they want to do. They're supposed to have a number that's assigned to them and everything, and especially if they show you a badge, but they're supposed to have a card with their name, their license number on it, and everything. And yep, it gives them power to sit there and scare people or do whatever and everything. So, you know, um, yeah, if y'all have any questions, later on, just leave them in the description. Then, if you want me to talk about something else in this area, I'll be more than glad to do that. But I think I covered most of it. Like, as what's public, what's not public. There is, like I said, back in the day, Bell Atlantic was the phone company, and yes, they sold information too back then. That was when there was only landlines. You know, that's how people got the information to call you up and sell you this over the phone, or salesman. Way back then we had the phone book. Everybody's number was either listed or unlisted, and that was fun. Yeah, customer calls to say selling stuff. Um, so, watch some old shows and they'll say, give me the phone book, and they will look up somebody's name and address and everything. But like I said, that was all innocent, nobody really thought about doing anything to anybody, not like it is now. Um, yeah, the people sold stuff now, here in Ohio, they've got people arrested for Medicaid fraud, Medicare fraud. They've caught people who was stealing money from Social Security. So, sometimes it is the people who work for the companies. So, with all this technology and everything, and then, oh, this is leaked or this information has been leaked, think of, you get an email just to let you know this was compromised or that's been compromised and everything. Change email or change your passwords. They already got the information. Why even, change your password? They've already got your information. That's, you know, and I'm just like, yeah, okay. That's really safe, how, change your password after they've already got your information. That really makes total sense in a way, but you just change the password anyway. I'm just, I get to laughing because I'm like, oh, they got hacked. Or the hackers. I'm just like, maybe the people who wrote the program already know how the program goes. So maybe they're the ones that are doing the hacking. All right, so take oh my goodness, TV show, Criminal Minds, and the girl that was a hacker that they sit there and caught, and she ended up working for the FBI with them and everything, and she could get into all that stuff and everything. Just think about that for a little bit, and that's all I'm saying. Just some food for thought about that. But yeah, what we think is private sometimes is really not private. If just have to do some digging yourself. I mean, is your own self. Go look and see what's going on, and call those. The real estate assessor's office or wherever your property is listed, where you go pay taxes, and see how well that is private information. And then talk to them about that. How can you keep that private? Is that a public knowledge thing and everything? So, but I am going ahead and get off early tonight and everything. Um, my arm is sore, so I still don't know what's going on with it. I didn't lift up and move anything or anything, so, but, I'm just going to go ahead and get off. And do you ever miss your own job? No, not really. um, I miss being an EMT every once in a while. Um, Sitting in a car for 12 hours a day gets hard on the body. And I didn't realize back then in 2003, 4 and everything that I had already had degenerative disc disease in the sacrum in the butt area and everything. So yeah. I'm like, so that's when I had to get out of the car. Someone had to pull me out of the car. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So yeah, no, I don't miss it. And especially nowadays, I wouldn't do it. The same goes with being an EMT. Mm-mm. I think the Lord let me do what I wanted to do back then because He had other plans for me now. So, but y'all have a wonderful and blessed night. God bless. Stay safe. We love y'all, and we'll see you next time on Our Treasure Home. Thank you. I will be live Wednesday night, Thanksgiving Eve.